It's showtime, it's yo time. It's game time, it's go time. You got one shot at a gold mine.
Welcome to Black Voices in Color, where we discuss profound topics that surround Black identity, culture, and Black excellence. I'm Joshua Ite, and with me are our new hosts for our new Season 3 podcast.
Anai Beasley.
Emmanuel Paris.
And returning from Season 2, lovely
Savannah Bland. Hi, guys. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Okay.
I'm all right.
You
How are
know,
I'm good. I'm a little tired, but I'm good.
that's good. Well, it's my birthday today.
Yeah.
I don't really know how to feel about it. I'm excited, and I just hope today's a
Happy
good
birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday. Had to throw that
Thank
in there.
you, guys.
Of course, girl.
But I'm excited to be here with y'all. How are y'all feeling?
I'm okay. Today's been already enough. Today's been enough.
Well,
Yeah.
well, about that, Savannah and Paris, we know recently you guys just got back from an HBCU tour, and
Yeah.
me and Josh got questions.
Questions.
So, what did you guys think about your trip?
Ladies first.
Honestly, it was an amazing experience. So we had gone to Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma, and we went to the Battle of the Bands, the Bayou Classic. We got beignets, and we visited Grambling, Southern, Xavier,
Yeah.
Dillard, Texas Southern, Prairie View,
Okay.
Paul Quinn, Langston. I think I got everything.
You went to
My
Xavier?
memory.
Yeah. Yeah, we went to Xavier. It was nice.
It was nice.
A lot
That
of
sounds
the-
nice.
A lot of the schools were really nice. They were a lot like older looking, I guess I would say. But it was definitely a really cool and unique experience just to kind of get a vibe for it and a feel for it.
Right.
And it really did answer like a lot of my questions, and it really just made like a lot of my decisions just very easy to make. Like I know like now I want to go to an HBCU. Like it's either an HBCU or nothing. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
Wait, what were all the states of the schools you guys went to?
Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did it feel old? Because I just know like most of those buildings were built in like the 1800s.
Yeah.
So
It was a lot of them that felt old. Like Dillard for me felt the oldest
Yes.
because all the buildings were white. You know, they're made out of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
The walking paths, they were like coming up because the roots of the trees growing so much and everything.
It was
Well-
definitely old. Like the outside of the vibe feels old, but on the inside, some of the places were actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
So it wasn't so bad. And the food was good. When we went to Southern and we went to the
Yeah.
little dining hall or whatever, there was just a line, and it was for fried chicken, red beans and rice, greens,
That's
cornbread.
where it's at.
It was fantastic, and it was delicious. Perfect skin to chicken ratio.
You
It was great. And-
Haitian boy like rice.
It was a lot of fun though, and I was really excited to have that experience. And the people were so cool, and everybody there has the same purpose. Like we just want to know, like if HBCU is what we want.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited for you guys, honestly, because I know it's important to get that HBCU experience and
Right.
get the feel of going to a college where you
Yeah.
see people who look like you.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy you guys got to experience that.
Yeah.
Battle of the Bands. I've only seen that on TV.
Yeah.
What's that like?
Shoot. It's good. Like they go back and forth. They try to one up each other.
Mhm.
Like going back and forth.
Does it like progressively get better, or they come out just trying to hit?
No, they came out. So
yeah, they came out
it's-
crazy. I ain't
So
gonna
it's
lie.
on the football field. So
Mhm.
they have like only half of the football fields. So it
Yeah.
was high schoolers first, and it was like 4 different high schoolers,
Mhm.
and then Grambling and Southern come out. All the huge
was-
marching
oh.
band both come out of each side. There's like 300 on each side. So it's
Yeah.
Grambling's band and Southern. So the
And you guys are in stands?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
the Denver Stadium, but it was literally like there was mad seats. It was
Yeah.
full. Like it was half the stadium, but
Mhm.
literally like almost all the seats were full. It was crazy.
Okay.
It was like they call it like the Caesars Dome.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that's what it's called.
Something like that.
Yeah. So it was a lot of cool though, and the Divine Nine. So that's all of like the black fraternities and
Yeah.
sororities, and it was great. Like I saw the Deltas, the AKAs, all of them. The Noobs
Yeah.
came out. It was a whole thing. It was a whole thing, but it was definitely a lot of fun, and I definitely made some really good connections. It was really cool.
Yeah.
That's good. My question to you guys is, what's your guys' biggest takeaway Like one thing you'll never forget, one thing that stood out to you guys the most. What's your biggest boom? I need this. I wanted that. This was nice. Anything.
My biggest takeaway would probably be like, well, first of all, overall, like the experience was really nice. Meeting new people, going to the schools, like actually seeing the campuses, talking to the administration, and then meeting new people, like meeting the people that wanted to go to the HBCU, seeing
Yeah.
people that looked like me, had the same goals. That was really nice as well. How about you,
Yeah.
Savannah?
Yeah, I can agree. And it was definitely just the overall, like, that really does make an impact on your decisions and where you want to be. But it was really just, like, I agree, just being around people who had the same idea as you, and you realize that this is what college is. Like, you're in high school, and you're around people who could care less about going to school and this and that, but then the people you see at these colleges and universities, they want to be there, and they want to make something out of themselves.
Right.
So it's nice, and it feels good to be around people who want to be like you.
Of
You
a
know what I mean?
collective, yeah.
Who want to be black excellence, who want to be proud, who want to be smart and educated and be beautiful. Like, it's just an amazing experience, and it really does like open your eyes even for someone in high school, because you know this could be your reality, and it's that's just really what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Honestly, hearing about y'all talk about those experiences, I could just tell y'all got exposed to more of what's out there. And
Right.
that way y'all know what to expect next year if you decide to go in HBCU. And I'm glad you did this during our senior year too. So
Yeah.
I wish I went with y'all, honestly.
But girl, we get to go in spring. We're
I
going
know.
in March. We're
I'm
going
looking forward to
to
that.
Spelman in Atlanta and Fisk. I think
Fisk, where is that?
it's in.
It's like some small HBCU.
Because I know we're going to Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. You know, got those acceptances to
Ooh.
Clark, and then I got accepted to Spelman, so I'm really excited.
Congratulations.
That's
Thank
exciting.
you.
And it's something I'm looking forward to, definitely.
Me too, girl. But today we do have a really important in our topic. In our class, we like to start off with a discussion question to help us get a flow and good natural conversation like just now. But one of our reflection questions was about mental health. And the conversation led to all of us opening up about our own personal mental health and the things we do to stay on top of it. And we realized how much of our mental health can affect everything that we do, how we come to school, how we handle homework, how we handle home life, how it can even affect our personalities. So even like, for example, me being biracial is something that has kind of like caused me a little bit of stress and frustration, and learning to manage that is important. And mental health is something that can take control of your life if it isn't managed well in your experiences, and we really want to talk about it.
I feel like it does hit home for a lot of students. They're not really used to putting their feelings out there and like having it acknowledged. It's definitely something I struggled with since I was a little kid too, and that's why I'm really glad to be bringing attention to this. I know black kids, like how they feel every day when they attend school, they're not used to opening up about how stressful it could be completing their work, or feeling like they can't even ask their teacher for help just from being judged and stuff like that. And I know anxiety and mental health are serious challenges that a lot of students deal with, specifically black students, and I don't think people understand how common it is for them to struggle with those emotions.
Yeah. And in this episode, we'll explore these issues as you, Paris, are going to share your personal journey of overcoming anxiety and depression, and how you continue to persevere through these struggles. Your personal story is unique, and it really made us think more deeply about this issue. And seeing how you are kind of to yourself and in school makes it much more of an honor to hear you open up about these personal things. We will also be sharing a conversation that Josh and a psychologist had to help us further discuss how mental health affects all of us and what are things we can do to help each other and ourselves.
I want to just start off by saying I'm always really honored to be having these conversations with you, where we get to be more intimate with each other. And I feel like I was really excited about this being our topic because, like I said, I struggle with these same things myself. And I'm really honored to be introducing your story as well, Paris. So,
And it's an honor to share it. I hope some people can resonate and feel something from it. So here's my story.
There's a moment in my life that I would like to start from. Imagine you're 10 years old and you're changing schools again. You have to get comfortable in a new school, and just when you're settling in, all of a sudden you gotta move. Again. But this time you're going to another state. You're leaving all your friends, family, and everything you know. How is a 10-year-old supposed to feel about that? Thinking back, I was afraid. I felt alone and stripped of everything. I didn't realize it, but at the time, depression began settling in my mind. I was moving because of my mom's love story, but this story for me was a nightmare. I was enrolled into a new school. My mom has always tried looking after me the best she could, which is why I was put into a white environment. The South has a reputation of being a dangerous place for African American boys, so she put me in the safest environment she could. Even so, in this world, what can you do when a child is mentally vulnerable? Eventually, I settled and found my friends. They were my peace in the storm. I was a good kid, but somehow trouble always seemed to find me. During school one day, I was listening to one of my teachers tell a story. I'd been sitting behind this string chair playing with the strings. All of a sudden, I heard a loud smacking sound. I accidentally let go of a string and it hit the back of a white kid. He screamed and everybody looked at the little black boy. Again, I was alone and scared. I was the only one of my colors, so immediately I was isolated. And even though it was an accident, of course, I got in trouble. Many more incidents happened that year, and trouble kept following me, stalking me like I was its prey. That was the last and only year at that school. In 6th grade, I went to another school, and I was finally surrounded by people of my color, which came with some pros but many more cons. A fight broke out on the bus on the first day of school. That was the first time I noticed the trigger. Fights made me feel trapped in animosity and very anxious. They had happened all the time and planted seeds that grew to become my anxiety. Nowadays, I live with both anxiety and depression, and I've learned how to overcome the two. Even living with them, they still creep up on me sometimes and run my life. Sometimes it's like the ringing in your ears. It's just there. Thankfully, though, I've learned how to cope and make the two lay off my back.
Well, Paris, hearing you talk about that really showed me what it's like to be in your shoes, and knowing you experienced something traumatic like that and just seeing how it still has an impact on you till this day. I understand how that could make you feel later on in life. It could set you apart from all your peers and even make you feel uncomfortable being in your own skin because of others looking at you like you were the bad guy in the situation, even though you weren't.
Definitely, my family and my friends, my peers, they talk about me all the time about like the difficulties and the struggle of what it's like to relocate. And me personally, I never moved. I've been in Denver my whole life, the same house. I never moved houses, nothing like that. So I've been in the same house growing up since my whole childhood. So, hearing you talk about and share your struggles of what it's like, being the kid in different schools, opening up that perspective, I'm really grateful because when they often vent about those things, it's hard for me to relate, knowing that me personally, I haven't dealt with those things firsthand. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. It's like a lived experience thing. It's just, it comes with it.
Yeah. And I'm also someone who moved back and forth from being the only black kid at an all-white school.
Yeah.
I understand the pressure and frustration that has become embedded because of the lack of stability. I went to 5 different schools in 2nd grade, and all of them were white schools. It's really hard not to be able to find a community and a support system when you're young. And your story really allowed me to empathize and see your life through your words. It makes me have a feeling in my own heart of the pain that you have gone through, where I want to comfort this boy who was hurt. It's put everything in perspective of not knowing someone's story until they tell it. You never know what someone is truly going through.
Yeah. You said 5 different
Yeah,
schools
that's
in
a
the
lot.
2nd grade?
Yeah, it was rough. It was one of those stages, my mom got a new job. I moved to Beulah. And Beulah's 3 hours away. It's in the mountains.
Yeah.
So I was in Beulah, I was in Pueblo, and then I moved in with my auntie. And then I was in Cherry Creek, and then I moved back to my old school that I was at in 1st grade. So, and I ended up staying at the school for a few more years. So, it all turned out how it was supposed to.
Where'd you end up going to middle school after that?
Up in Platteville where my mom lives.
So you moved again during middle school too?
So yeah, so Let me just start from the beginning. So, I mean, preschool was one school, kindergarten was one school, and then first grade, and then the second grade period, then moved back to the first grade school, and then third, fourth were at that one school, and then fifth, I went like near Greeley, that's where Platteville is, and then I was there for fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth grade. So I was there for a minute. But then I moved with my dad, and then I moved to Dr. Martin Luther King Junior Early College. So, it was cool though.
Well, I definitely do agree that what you experience in school as a younger kid, it definitely does impact how it is for you even up until you graduate. So, like, hearing you say you went to 5 different schools, I definitely understand, like, where your maturity and stuff comes from. And I just feel like your Paris story, like, it was definitely a lot, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah.
It gives us a more in-depth understanding of who you are as a person, and living with anxiety and depression. I understand, and I can relate to you personally as someone who struggled with this my whole life. And that feeling of talking to your peers and just feeling that resentment when for no reason, like when you're just trying to have a simple conversation with them, it makes you feel like it lowers your self-esteem.
Right.
I will say that. And I also think it's something that makes me special because the way I handle those things every day, it makes me unique, and it makes me feel a sense of maturity too.
Yeah.
What's it like going through? Because you say the last thing I heard was, well, not the last thing I heard, but right before you close, you mentioned like you're still living with it. So walk me through like an everyday process of what it's like being students who are experiencing anxiety and depression every day. Or not even the student as an individual, I want to say.
For me, it's not too bad because I've learned to just live in my moments, like live in the moment, like I go class by class, moment by moment, and I worry about what's present, like what work I have to do now, and then what I have to do later. That'll happen later, So I don't worry too much. Like it's not too bad for me. But how about you, Anai?
Well, it's like it's gotten better for me since I've gotten older, and I'm able to have normal conversations with people and get my tasks done, but I feel like it gets more in the way when I'm trying to do something that involves more attention or me putting myself out there. That's when it has its moments, definitely, but like I said, it's gotten better, especially this year. Like I could feel a difference in even being a part of this. So
yeah, so like I'm hearing from you, it's more like a pace thing. You're kind of more at this kind of steady pace of trying to not worry. Is that like intentional, like you're trying not to worry, or you find yourself not worrying?
I think that's just what has come to me. Like,
so it kind of just second nature.
Yeah, it's second nature. It just happens. Yeah.
Paris, I know a lot of things can kind of go unnoticed, but what are like unique characteristics that to you that others don't notice is linked to your anxiety and depression? And do you think that you're able to read the anxiety and depression in somebody else because you're someone who has it?
Some characteristics that I have, I'll probably say like the reasons that I'm quiet. Not so much like that I'm physically quiet, but like the reasons that I'm quiet. Like I mostly prefer to be in my own, my own little space, to myself type stuff like that. And then I would say like the difficulty that I would have like forming relationships and actually retaining them, because some people they take my anxiety and depression, like they take it personally because like it makes me act certain ways. So that there's that. But I definitely feel that I can definitely see like if someone else is going through the same things. Like I can tell by their actions or their physical body language and stuff like that.
You said you like noticed like their responses, and you really internalize that. Like you're saying, like you can see personally how they respond to how you feel, or like kind of how you naturally are. I like that. That was a good note.
Thank you.
I experience that sometimes as well. My question is, how were you like as a kid, and how do you envision yourself growing up, having you never moved in the first place?
Like if I never moved, I feel like I might have like more relationships with people, and I might talk more because like I was, I had foundation in one space. So I feel like I would have more relationships, and I would have.
And you were out here?
Yeah, if I were out here. Yeah, if I was out here, I would have more relationships, and it would be easier for me to form relationships and talk to others.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have been like the same thing if you were to have siblings? Or just a support system in general, you know, like, I don't know.
Like, if I were to have siblings during that time of, you know, the things that I went through, I feel like once again, I feel like I would talk more. Like, I feel like it would be easier for me to express myself and actually talk to others. And I don't think I would be like so towards myself. I feel like I would be open to more conversation and to more activities with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think those experiences with not fitting in with your peers like have shaped the way you fit in like far as society?
I feel like through what I've gone through, it's kind of like made me only rely on myself. So like being in society, it's easier for me to just be myself and worry about the things that I gotta do instead of like worrying about what a social group thinks. I'm right there with me. I'm right there with the things that I gotta focus on. And but you know, in a friend group, it's like, well, in a friend group, I attract the people that are like me. So it's better in friend groups, especially people like y'all. Y'all are some cool people.
Did you ever think that you would be on a podcast sharing your story?
No. I never thought I was gonna be on a podcast. I don't even think I thought about a podcast till like 2022 or something like that. But
Yeah.
I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to share my story. I'm glad that I had the maturity to realize that it was bigger than me to spread a message.
Are there like instances where you feel like your personality kind of like held you back? Because you know, like you're saying, like you're kind of more drawn back from like social, and you know, you're kind of like distant from the friend group, but yet present. You know, like do you ever feel like, you know, there are certain times where like, dang, like,
Bro, definitely like some instances are like school dances or like if I'm invited to go somewhere. And
did you go to homecoming and prom?
I did, bro. I did, but
Did you like it?
I didn't like I liked it, but I was kind of like restricting myself like for who I am. I don't like I'm not the person to like get up and dance.
Yeah.
So it was kind of awkward for me because I was restricting myself.
Yeah.
But you know, I saw my friends having fun, so I enjoyed myself.
Well, I understand when you answer the question about fitting in with society, when you get to a certain age, like I remember being in ninth grade and looking on TikTok and comparing myself to people who didn't even know me.
Yeah.
And it's like you get to a certain point where you're like, who cares what people think? I'm just trying to find myself and what works best for me. So, and one thing I wanted to ask you is, what do you think the difference is between anxiety and depression, and what do people misunderstand the most about depression?
I would say, well, I'm gonna start with anxiety. Anxiety is more of like a physical thing for you. I would say like your heart starts beating fast, and like for me, I have body tremors. Like if you, like when you said earlier, like in situations where a lot of attention is on you, it's not that I would be nervous, but it's that my body would start shaking and stuff like that. Like it's called body tremors. And then depression is more of like a mood thing, like a moment to moment thing. Like if I were to listen to a song and hear something that I take note of, it might make me feel like more down or like sad or something like that. So it's like it's more mental. So yeah.
You're right. Anxiety is definitely a physical feeling. It really can disrupt your whole day. And that feeling in your stomach, it's no joke.
Yeah, but Josh, I know you're really big on mental health. How do you deal with yours, bro?
With me, often I think I'm kind of all over the place. I find myself doing a lot of different things. I take pride in my crafts, like you said. You know, I always hear you indulge in your hobbies. So you know, I'm really big on music. Sometimes when I find myself, you know, maybe stressed with work or you know overwhelmed, you know, feeling some type of way, maybe feeling insecure, you know, music is something to me that I can lean on, whether it's putting in my headphones or whether it's me physically getting on the piano to produce my own, or you know, finding that even ground for me. I do journal, not as much as I should or not as much as I like to, but you know, I find myself writing, you know, trying to spend that quiet time with myself, just internalizing and putting down my feelings, or not even my feelings, but whatever comes to my mind on paper, you know, trying to find some sort of outlet in that manner. So those are kind of like my key things between music, journaling, and of course religion. You know, I'm big on my relationship with God, so when I do have my free time or when I make time, you know, I find myself praying a lot, trying to find that even ground, coming to that nice place of concentration within myself where I can, you know, talk and communicate my feelings and my thoughts and, you know, be expressive.
Yeah, I've learned to do like the same things. Like I'm learning guitar. You know, I do journal as well. And I definitely am big on my relationship with God. Well, one thing that I've learned in dealing with depression and anxiety is the importance of having a resource, like somebody around you to talk to, so you're not dwelling on, the things in your mind. So it's important to have someone to talk to.
Definitely, and which is why on that note, I had the opportunity to have a conversation with Denver Kids Advisor Jamie Jefferson. Ms. Jamie has been on the front lines of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Early College, helping and supporting our young youth and, guiding them through their toughest challenges. And to me, with her experience between Denver youth and, her studying psychology, I believe she has a unique experience and perspective on, helping students travel and navigate through their mental health. Hey, Ms. Jamie, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Why don't you share a little bit about yourself? I know you're with Denver Youth. You've been working there for some time. Why don't you? Oh no, is it Denver Kids?
Yes, it is. I actually have been working for Denver Kids for 3 years now here at DMLK.
How's that?
It's been great. I'm really passionate about supporting students, and this job allows me to do just that. And yes, I've been doing just that for the last 3 years. It's been very rewarding, I think, just getting to work within my passion every day. I've always wanted to help people, work with youth, and make sure I can empower the next generation.
So that's been your whole primary job wanting to grow up? You didn't want to be no dentist, no doctor, no vet, no nothing?
To be honest with you, I obviously had other aspirations in life, but I think that even in those roles, I would have been doing the same thing, like helping or educating people on that particular thing. So landing in this job, I think, ultimately fulfilled that need of mine.
Yeah. Kind of versatile and kind of broadened it up. So
it can be a lot of different things at the same time. I have/do, I guess.
While we're on the topic of mental health, have you personally struggled from anxiety or depression? Or maybe both?
That's a great question. I definitely have in various points of my life, even as recently as last year. Have/do struggle with anxiety and depression, but I'm living proof that you guys can always get through what you're going through. So don't let any diagnosis really deter you from your life.
Okay, and you speak on diagnosis. How important is that to you? You've been working with Denver Youth for about 3 years now. How often do you recommend, and how important is diagnosis to you?
Well, that's a great question, because in my role, which I've held for 3 years now, but I'm not a therapist, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't personally do diagnoses. I am an advocate and a proponent for getting a professional diagnosis, though. Don't just go out there and take what you read on the internet or hear in TikTok videos and think that that's going to be you, and now you have this label for yourself. Like, always go to a professional.
How would you define anxiety, depression, and how would you say they differ from one another?
So anxiety is basically an intense worry or feeling of perceived or real stress, like things that may happen, things that haven't happened, stress you out so much that you might even have a rapid heartbeat. And that's like a physical symptom of anxiety.
Right.
Whereas depression is described as like low mood, lack of motivation, and emptiness, just like nothing excites you, nothing interests you. So definitely, while they can co-occur, they are also capable of happening individually. And I think each person's anxiety and depression can look different.
Right.
There's social anxiety, and so that's just social situations causing anxiety for people. The major difference is what triggers them. And other than that, they're both mental health conditions. So there's tons of other ones out there, but these ones are really prominent because of like their mood-based and emotion-based.
And just to clarify, you say that they differ from another by the way they are brought up and triggered.
Yes.
And are there any demographics or, particular age groups that are more vulnerable to anxiety and depression?
Yeah, there's definitely research out there that states that young adults, typically between the age of 18 and 24, are more vulnerable.
I thought you would have said teenagers.
I know that is a common misconception. I think people don't realize that during your teenage years, you're already going through puberty. You have the teenage angst, as we like to call it.
Yeah.
That kind of, I think, convolutes what a lot of people feel and experience. But once you become an adult, it's easier to like recognize these patterns and be able to speak to what you're going through and get a diagnosis. Many people, that's not to say that teens don't still get diagnosed. That's not to say older adults don't get diagnosed.
Right.
But just to be, to specifically state which demographics are more susceptible or vulnerable. So there's definitely barriers when it comes to socioeconomic status, gender identity, and age that get in the way of people getting access to care.
And can you just touch bases on like some of them barriers?
Yeah, I would say that cultural differences, parents not being as informed or supportive about mental health as well. Being a kid, only having so much control over your life as is. Or even being an adult, only having so much money and then therapy being expensive or not really having the resources. So definitely when you're young, I think it's easier to get help as opposed to when you're older.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. What are some of the, what would you say is some of like the common traits you see in kids that are struggling with anxiety, depression?
Some common traits for anxiety are students who are really shy, really quiet, students who maybe get really nervous easily. It could be in a crowded room, it could be in an empty room.
Yeah.
Like they could be talking to me and be feeling that nervous energy. That's definitely a sign that they might have anxiety. But depression is definitely going to look a lot different. It's way more drastic. Like you might not even see that kid because they're so unable to get excited about even coming to school. So that person misses a lot of school,
Right.
Or they try to hide when they're here. They don't have a lot of friends. They say to themselves, could be some signs. They don't want to make friends. They don't have any interests or hobbies or things that they're doing.
What responsibility do you feel like students have in their own mental health?
I definitely think that students' mental health is their responsibility, but not theirs alone, if that makes sense.
Okay.
You're responsible for knowing or getting educated about mental health.
Right.
And then being able to apply what you learn, whether that's coping skills, whatever you talk with your therapist about that you need to work on. I think that's like a general responsibility that we all have to our mental health. But also, I think it's your parents' responsibilities to support you in that.
Right.
Because if they don't, then again, they create a barrier to help and support that you actually need.
Right. And during class, we came across a really strong subject that I really feel like I had to ask you. So in class, we were discussing about, outside factors and how influential are they into students' mental health. And so my question to you is, how important and do teachers and should teachers play a role in students' mental health?
That's a good question. I'll start with do teachers play a role? I think to some degree, yes. They should be knowledgeable and educated on it and know what to look for and know how to work with students who have these issues.
Address it.
Address it. But also, I think they have a lot that they have to teach you as is. So they're not going to be like another caretaker. And it kind of diverts back to the parents. I mean, we have SEL days here at the MLK, and I would love to see that utilized more for mental health, just to teach about it. And I guess that's where you would need a teacher, right? Someone who's instructed to teach you on specific mental health things. But as far as that, no, I think what happens outside of school and what you end up needing is ultimately going to be your responsibility, your parents' responsibility. So it's kind of like a little bit yes, but a little bit no, because teachers I think that's a good conversation, a good question to ask, because teachers do feel a pressure to help, but they're also tied to so many different things that they often can't really help, or they can only help but so much. So just to not give it their full attention, but to be aware of it. I think that's what teachers' role is.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. Because when we was talking in class, we uncover parents definitely play a stronger role than the teachers do. Because my teacher shared with me, sometimes they're just here to teach. At the end of the day, they're responsible for kids, but at the end of the day, they're called to teach, they're called to educate us. And so how are they tying that, that mental health piece and that personal piece that students are going through was a big part of that conversation.
Mm-hmm. And I could see why it would be, I'm pretty sure the teachers think about it all the time. Just the state of how things are. They're called to teach, so that's what they should do. But you can't expect them to be an expert, and you might need additional support. Specific students might need additional support. So is that on the teacher? No. But once we know what's going on with the student, I think we should take a little bit more care. And that's where I think they're coming into play.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Jamie. It was a pleasure having you here on Black Voices in Color.
Thank you for having me. It was
Yes.
This is my favorite thing to talk about. I would do this every day if I could.
That was a really nice conversation, Josh. That really summarizes how much of an impact bad mental health can have on students who are still trying to figure themselves out as they continue to grow and develop. We are teenagers, we have anxiety and insecurities, and we have to live in a society full of social media that comes with cruel things. Even me, I had people posting messy and hurtful things about me before, and it doesn't make me feel good, Yeah. But I know I will always have haters because I will be great, and I'm not regular, and everyone who thrives will have haters. I really have to remind myself that hatred comes within, and no one truly knows me in my life, and knowing your value within yourself can help you control your own mental health.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Say that last sentence again. That was good.
Knowing your value within yourself can help you control your own mental health.
I like that.
Oh, and it rhymes too.
Yeah,
Kudos to you, man. Kudos to you.
Something I really come to appreciate is how students have more resources around us, like especially Black students, or even students in general. We can feel more comfortable being transparent about the things that go on in our minds, like knowing that in more spaces people usually try to keep things laid back and more on the positive side of things. I'm glad I'm able to share my experience and understand how it's warming to actually be able to ease up and talk about those things.
Yeah. I agree, and I think it's amazing to hear the perspective of a mental health professional at the school, and I agree with both of you. I feel like this conversation really showed me that everyone has a different experience, and you never really know what someone may be going through deep down. Yeah. So this could be a reason why students act up at times.
Yeah, that's a big piece. Well, as we come to a close, thank you guys. We really do hope you guys enjoyed our conversation here today. Mental health is very important, and I highly consider that if you are a person struggling with mental health, that you do, take your time in. I agree with Paris. I'm really big on pace. One thing that works for me personally that I can encourage, that I can say that's worked for me, is really pace, Keeping my mind subject to one thing and trying not to worry about what's to come next, what's to move, what's my next plan. That's really something that keeps me, kind of organized and kind of grounded.
If you or anyone you know is struggling with anxiety or depression, talk to a school counselor or a trusted adult. You can also visit dpsk12.org and find lots of mental health resources under the Exceptional Student Services tab. And you can contact the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling 988.
If you want to enjoy our show, please let us know how you're feeling about our topic so far and what we will be discussing as a whole. Leave your comments or feedback on our Instagram page and be sure to come back for our next episode.
And of course, to our next remarkable comeback.
Awaken the soul, empower the mind.